This is Marvel's Wafford's demonstrative speech. Here are my note cards, and I have three guests with me this evening. Your name, sir?
Chase.
Daisha.
And then in the camera, I have my fiance, Lakeisha. Now we're going to bring it back to the kitchen. That's where we want to make sure that that's where we're demonstrating. So, has anyone ever been so hungry that their taste buds were salivating, anticipating the mouth-watering, tasteful steak? And when you finally get that steak, the steak isn't everything that you have asked for, so you're utterly disappointed. Well, today, what I want to do is demonstrate to you how to make an awesome, tasteful steak so that not only you're impressing yourself, but you're also going to be impressing your relatives, family, and others. That this steak is so tasteful that it would make a vegetarian be enticed to try it. Now, I've used this recipe. I'm sorry, plenty of times with guests, relatives, friends, and I've put my own special touches and special blends or whatnot on it. It's also been used by famous network chefs. Now, there are three key components actually in making an awesome, tender, juicy steak. Your first one is going to be make sure that you're utilizing the proper materials. Secondly, you want to make sure you have the right ingredients. And then third, you want to make sure that you're using the proper preparation. Now, what brings me to my first step. First step is making sure that you have the proper materials. The first thing actually you want to make sure you have is your frying pan. You're going to use this for searing. The searing actually is going to be, we prefer to do a dark pan because that's actually going to be for your to retain the juices and your flavoring. The second thing you're going to actually want to have is a 13 by 9 glass dish. This is actually going to be used for the marinating and the place the steak in and for just to keep the marinating in the steak. The third thing you're going to have is your tongs. The tongs are actually going to be used to actually transport the steak from the actual dish to the actual searing pan. And we use the tongs so that we can retain and we don't pierce the meat so that it retains its actual juices. Now, once we actually have that, the last thing the fourth thing we'll have is the actual spoon. The spoon is actually going to be used for basting the juices while the steak is searing in the pan. And then last is the aluminum foil. So once everything is done, once we take the steak out the oven, it'll be able to rest and it'll retain the heat as well as the flavoring. Now, once we have that, um, the necessary materials, then we want to basically that's going to be your easiest part of the whole process. But you want to make sure you have the right ingredients. So the ingredients actually I have sitting on the shelf today. We have salt. You want to have pepper. You want to also have a Larvie seasoning salt. You can use whatever seasoning salt you want, but I prefer this actually. We're going to use Worcestershire sauce. We have dry thyme leaves. I would prefer to actually use the fresh thyme leaves, but they weren't available at the local grocery store, so we had to go improvise. Next, you have 2 tablespoons of butter, and then you also want to use fresh, finely minced garlic. So once you have the ingredients together, the you want to the main part is actually going to be your preparation of the awesome steak. So once we do that, we want to basically put the oven and we want to preheat it to 400, which I have right now, and just let that preheat. And then what we want to do is basically start the seasoning process. Now the key with seasoning is you want to make sure that you season it on both sides, and that makes it evenly flavorful for every bite. And once you do that, you want to basically do 3 pinches of salt and pepper on each side. So we'll do that like so. Then we also want to do the pepper, which I'm just going to do like this. It'll make it a little bit more easier. Actually, maybe not. We'll spread it on like so. Okay. Alright, once we have that, Maybe a little bit more salt, sorry. Alright, we want to do the seasoning salt. Make sure it's evenly spreaded on it. Alright, we want to use the Worcestershire sauce. Just make sure we put a little dab and then we'll put it on the other side. Get this salt in there. Pepper. Okay. Seasoning salt. And the Worcestershire sauce. Okay. So what we're gonna do now is we'll let that sit in for a few minutes.
So
And then we're gonna actually, yes ma'am.
How do you know how much Worcestershire sauce you should put on there?
Well, you don't wanna make it too saturated. I would recommend just dabbing it maybe like 2 or 3 times. Some nice dabs, and then it should be ideal for most people's likings. Okay, so then now we want to prepare the actual searing of the steak. So we'll turn the heat on medium. It's crazy. I don't know my. Okay, there we go. We got it on medium there. Okay, now we want to actually start the butter.
Now is the butter what you're going to sear it in?
Yes, I'm going to sear it actually with butter, as well as thyme leaves, and then the garlic.
Okay.
But you want to actually put the butter actually on first and let that melt.
Okay.
And then you want to just kind of let it melt. I'll get me an actual spoon. I apologize. I'm all over the place, but that's okay. That's what you do when you cook. So we will actually, let's see, there it is. Also make sure, it's critical that you make sure that you properly clean your area of cooking, as well as make sure your hands are clean. So we're going to actually just spread this around a little bit. Get it to melt. Not all the way, but kind of pretty much to the point where it's obsolete. Once that actually occurs, which it's pretty much obsolete right now, we want to basically get our garlic. Spread that in there. Okay. And then we want to basically get thyme leaves, and throw those in there. Pour it on very moderately. And then we'll take the steak and we'll transport it from the actual glass dish onto the actual frying pan. Now you want to basically keep it in there for about 30 seconds on each side, or a minute, depending. With time constraints, I can only keep it on for 30 seconds. So once we do that, I just need a fork. Actually, I could probably use a tongue. Sorry. Get it, move it around. Okay. Also, you want to make sure you have the spoon so you can baste it. Make sure to get the garlic on there, spread it around. Okay. Flip it over on the other side. Same thing. Okay, so once you actually do that, we're going to transport it and put it in the oven. Now, if you're looking for it to be medium, you want to basically make sure you have it on, have it for probably roughly around 20 minutes, 25 minutes. If you like it medium well, it's going to be probably more like 30 to 40 minutes. Now, once that occurs, you let it sit. And then we want to basically take it out when it's done. And when you take it out, you want to make sure you have the aluminum foil on it, and that way the aluminum foil retains the heat, as well as it makes sure that the steak retains also flavoring. You let it sit for 3 minutes, and then after that, it's done. We have baked potatoes here. We also have salad, fruits. You can have whatever you want, steamed veggies, whatever you prefer. Now, once all that's done, you do that all correctly. The most important part is the enjoyment of the steak. Am I right, everyone?
Yes.
For
Okay.
sure.
You guys ready for that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So once you do all that in closing, you now have yourself an awesome, wonderful, tasty, delectable steak. So with that being said, we covered utilizing the correct materials. We also went over having the correct ingredients, and then we also went over proper preparation. Now, with all that being said, I want to make sure that you know that I stand behind my process of cooking, and that you too can do the same thing. And I can almost guarantee you that if you try this recipe and you do it exactly the way that I just showed you, that not only will your guests thank you, you'll thank yourself, and I promise you this will be one of the decisions in your life that you will never regret.